James Comey book, and we'll get to some of the debate about James Comey, but the Cohen investigation and its impact on the president, because for those of you who haven't been paying attention, Michael Cohen knows everything. He is the president's personal attorney. He is his fixer. He's a guy the president calls sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day. This has them rattled for good reason.
Without question. I mean, there's no one who's closer to the president, really anyone that I can think of. Maybe Ivanka, that would be the only other person who's this close to the president, but he knows absolutely everything, like you said. We are told the president, I mean, we saw how incensed he was earlier in the week when he first learned about that, and that grew throughout the week. I mean, and the fact that he's under a criminal investigation is something that is more worrisome, the president's aides will say, than about the Mueller investigation, because he doesn't know where this is going, and Michael Cohen apparently recorded a lot of things and took notes on a lot of things. The president doesn't email. He's lucky about that, probably. But these, conversations that are recorded and other matters, Michael Cohen is probably not the best lawyer in the city, as we're finding out. And this is going to be a huge problem mentally for the president, but also substantively with the Department of Justice.
Right, and it's going to create the kind of things that get the president's attention, which is it's getting a lot of discussion on cable television. Stormy Daniels says she may show up at the court hearing Monday, tomorrow, because they're worried about that some of these documents concern the settlement made with her. And so she's looking for the public relations boost out of this. Roll your eyes if you will. It might draw a camera or two. You can roll your eyes at that, but her lawyer's smart, knows how to play the public relations game. The Justice Department, again, this is the Trump Justice Department. This has been taken away from the special counsel, Robert Mueller, handed over to the Justice Department in New York. They said that they did this because A, Michael Cohen's not being a lawyer anymore, really, in their view, and B, they had reason to believe he was going to destroy evidence. Now, the evidence, we are told, does include conversations, audio recordings of Cohen's dealings with other people, including apparently the other lawyers involved in these negotiations, to which Lindsey Graham, an attorney, senator from South Carolina, says, what?
Michael Cohen's an idiot. To be taping, if he did tape conversations with his client, that's stupid. I don't know what kind of legal advice Michael Cohen gave Donald Trump. I'm not really impressed with him as a lawyer, just to be honest with you.
This is, if you talk to people close to the president, he's a lot more worried about this right now than he is about Robert Mueller.
Yeah. Lindsey Graham kind of cut into the chase there. I mean, Michael Cohen isn't probably the legal representation most people would choose, but it's who Donald Trump chose.
Worked. It's worked.
Because it has worked, right?
He's
willing to do things that other lawyers may not be willing to do. Now, if you're just off running a private enterprise, maybe that works for you when you're suddenly president of the United States, thinking about all the things Michael Cohen did. That may be why Trump is so worried. And I think the other piece of it is we all know if there is one thing that Donald Trump is particularly sensitive about, it's his business and his money. Michael Cohen, in addition to all of these potential side payments that were going on and personal matters that he was involved in, had great insight into the finances of the Trump organization. And that's what has the president particularly on edge.
Yeah, his business, his wealth, and frankly, his extracurricular activities, right? I mean, this is something that Cohen is all inside on. And I think it's important to take a step back here. Folks think that Trump was this big mogul, businessman. He had a small, basically family operation. His company was effectively run by his kids and a few other folks outside, one of them being Michael Cohen. And he wasn't just a lawyer. I have an email going back to 2011 when I was covering a big conservative conference called CPAC here in Washington, where Trump came and gave a speech. Again, this is the 2012 cycle, not last time around. And I got this really nasty email from Cohen to me complaining about our coverage then at Politico of the Donald Trump appearance. It was not the work of a lawyer. It was the work of an advisor to the would-be candidate, then just a business guy and reality TV star, but basically saying, this is shoddy work. Basically, you didn't give him respect. He had multiple standing ovations. He was speaking for President Trump, not his lawyer.
And that's
he's on the inside.
That's a problem because among the documents they've asked for, the Justice Department, is communications with Hope Hicks and Corey Lewandowski, two people who had key roles in the Trump campaign. They're trying to trace the money, they're trying to trace these payments, and they're trying to see if there was any campaign involvement or knowledge, which would make it a campaign finance, could make it a campaign finance violation, which opens up a whole ball.
Right, because Cohen's been saying that he's freelancing on a number of these occasions just out of his sheer love and devotion to the president, which is, doesn't always pass the smell test with everybody, but it's been his argument, and if this proves otherwise, that it's in coordination with the president or any of his kids or whatever, it could trickle
And so this again, Robert Mueller brings the threshold evidence to Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, who says to the special counsel, this is not your mandate, give it to me. Hands it over to prosecutors in New York and says there is credible evidence here, you need to pursue this. So the president is mad again at Rod Rosenstein. Yet another, well, call it what you will, I'm going to be with you. It's just stay away from the words that come to mind. And also interesting, we won't play it here, but the Attorney General, after all this played out, publicly praised Rod Rosenstein, singled out Rod Rosenstein again. So Jeff Sessions, Rod Rosenstein, and so this question to Sarah Sanders.
The Deputy Attorney General was here yesterday. Is the president going to fire Rod Rosenstein?
I don't have any announcements at this time. The president's voiced some frustrations, but beyond that, I don't have anything to add.
The president's voiced some frustrations.
I mean, our reporting shows, and it has for several days, that the president, he's hearing a lot from outside advisors that he should fire Rod Rosenstein. Never mind Bob Mueller. The president was focused, I'm told, squarely this week on Rod Rosenstein. Of course, that doesn't solve the problem necessarily, though, at all. But it would, certainly be a way for him to lash out here. We also found out the White House is preparing talking points for why he should leave if he leaves. And you saw Sarah Sanders right there. That was about the third day in the row she answered that the exact same way. No personnel announcements at this time, which is a sign that it's coming.
Or she's afraid to say no.
Exactly.
Yes, she's been caught in these unenforced errors. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. I mean, she could be caught in a lie that she didn't mean to do, in addition. But look, firing Rosenstein has always been the move the president could make to fire Mueller. We talk about firing Mueller. He can't do it. He can force Rosenstein to do it or kick him out. But the question is, as you pointed out when we were talking about Cohen, this is his own Justice Department making these moves.
Right.
The idea that there's necessarily the next person in line would do his bidding and get rid of Mueller, which is the entire reason to get rid of Rosenstein, not a guarantee anymore.
And the patience of the Republican leadership, which has been way too silent on these questions, but their patience is very limited if we were to go to that rate. Up next, we'll continue on this topic. Public tweets attacking James Comey, private venting at the defense secretary and the deputy attorney general, a risky phone call to the aforementioned Michael Cohen. Welcome to Friday at the Trump White House. But first, politicians say the darndest things. Saturday Night Live imagining some legal conversations here between the attorney general, the vice president, and Mr. Cohen.
Mr. Cohen, this situation is out of hand.
I know. Can you believe what they're doing to poor Mr. Trump? It's a disgrace. This whole raid was a complete violation of attorney criminal privilege.
Well, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to worry about.
Is that a joke? Look, we got a real problem here, Jeff. You know how much evidence I have in my office? I'm Donald Trump's lawyer. I got a whole hard drive that's just labeled yikes.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans makes the complex simple, giving you superhero levels of confidence. Understand the details and get approved in as few as 8 minutes, so nothing stands in your way. Rocket Mortgage, America's largest mortgage lender. Marvel Studios Avengers Infinity War in theaters April 27th.
There's a moment in your bones when the fire takes over.
Life has a million trails. The redesigned Jeep Cherokee was built for all of them. Get 0% APR financing for 60 months, plus $1,000 bonus cash on 2018 Jeep Cherokee models.
Let's begin. Yes or no? Do you want the same tools and seamless experience across web and tablet? Do you want $4.95 commissions for stocks, 50-cent options contracts, $1.50 futures contracts? What about a dedicated service team of trading specialists? Did you say yes? Good. Then it's time for Power E-Trade, the platform, price, and service that gives you the edge you need. Looks like we have a couple of seconds left. Let's do some card twirling. Twirling cards. E-Trade, the original place to invest online.
Hey guys, I've sent our constant contact email.
Come in.
Great numbers, guys. Great job.
Send great-looking emails that drive big results for your business.
Doris is down.
Constant Contact Email Marketing. Powerful stuff.
Men, after 40, you have a choice. Live with less drive and less muscle, or get Ageless Male, the best-selling free testosterone booster with over 4 million bottles sold. Ageless Male. Promote confidence, libido, and more free testosterone.
How would you describe the perfect dinner? It's perfectly fresh, perfectly measured, perfectly seasoned. That's why Plated is perfect for you. Unforgettable dinners you can cook at home week after week. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks. See how easy and fun it is to make a dinner that's beautifully cooked, shared, and enjoyed. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks.
The Kennedys wanted to change the world, but tragedy intervened. Now, all eyes are on the only surviving son, Ted.
American Dynasties, The Kennedys. New episode, tonight at 9 on CNN.
How do you feel when you look in the mirror?
I felt heavy and I looked heavy. It's hard sometimes to believe that's me.
Do you wish you could have slimmer hips, thighs, and a flat stomach? Now you can. America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, Sonobello, has made it easier and more affordable than ever to get the body you've always wanted. Using advanced microlaser technology, our board-certified plastic surgeons remove hard-to-lose fat in as little as 1 day.
I look in mirrors now and I'm like, dang, that girl looks good.
For your free no-obligation consultation, call 888-470-4969 and get $250 towards looking your very best.
The best investment you could make is in yourself. 100%. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Call now and get $250 off. Payment plans are available. Don't wait one more day. For a free consultation, call 888-470-4969 now.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
All right, President already tweeting about James Comey and his new book today, but we want to do a little bit of a flashback here to Friday. The Comey book was driving the news cycle early Friday. Kellyanne Conway, part of the White House team sent out to paint the former FBI director as a liar. This, 7:56 a.m. outside the West Wing.
The president will have his say either through those of us who do speak on his behalf or on his own. He's a busy guy. You know, he's the president of the United States, but he has a different recollection of what happened.
Or on his own part came 5 minutes later. At 8:01, the president unloaded, tweeting, Comey is a leaker, a liar, and a slimeball. The busy guy part, well, that's no joke. The president's Friday included tweets attacking Comey, private venting at his defense secretary for military options in Syria the president viewed as too weak, a risky phone call to his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, and then a decision to skip the normal process and issue a controversial pardon to former Dick Cheney aide, Scooter Libby.
This is a way of, to my mind, sending a very clear signal to Manafort, Kushner, Cohen, Flynn, that you can go ahead. If you are, if you get wrapped up in this, you're caught lying to the FBI, committing a crime in national security, it's okay. I'll take care of you, because we know Trump values loyalty above all else, above party, above country.
Each one of these things, venting at your defense secretary, calling Michael Cohen on the phone as the lawyers were in court arguing about the search warrant, pardoning Scooter Libby, a man the president himself concedes he's never met, to stir that debate about is he sending a message to other witnesses here. I think all that happened before lunch on Friday. I mean, this is, I covered the Bill Clinton White House during the Monica Lewinsky, where there was some military action against Saddam Hussein back in the day, some other things going on in the world, but nothing like this.
And he was supposed to be in South America at the Summit of the Americas. I mean, he was supposed to be out of town on Friday. He canceled that trip, of course. Look, I mean, the Scooter Libby thing, it came out of left field in a respect. It had very little to do with Scooter Libby. Obviously, I think it was sending a message without question. He was asked on the campaign trail when he was running for president if he would do this, and he, had no answer, basically like who. So this is certainly something that a lot of conservatives and friends of the Cheneys and Scooter Libby have been asking for, but this, it seems to me, was much more.
Kellyanne Conway said in that driveway that it's about a special counsel gone amok. And she had a little glint in her eye, like, ha.
The timing of this, and the timing of this was happening as Michael Cohen, was, getting in deeper and deeper here. So,
and just as an aside, if I could real fast, I have to. Scooter Libby, Valerie Plame, and Mission Accomplished all 1 week. I mean, this is like throwback.
Like the Wayback Machine.
Exactly, right, man? The Bush days.
We all know by now that Trump is running a different kind of White House, but there are moments, and I think Friday is one of them. Yeah, when you are struck by the fact that there is no cohesion to this presidency besides Trump's own persona. There is no attempt to do strategic planning. There is no attempt to drive a coherent message. There is no attempt to try to sell any type of agenda. And again, Trump believes that he can be successful doing it a different way. But that is a really amazing shift in the presidency that we're seeing right now. And Friday was just very emblematic.
And it has become commonplace to the fact that sometimes we don't even consider it news, which I think is a mistake. When the president starts attacking Rod Rosenstein, James Comey, if you have issues on the facts, have issues on the facts. Let's have a debate about these things. Nobody's perfect. These guys made mistakes. We'll get to some of the Comey in a minute. But attack them on the issues, not the personal attacks on those two guys. 50 years of law enforcement experience, federal law enforcement. President tweeting this morning, big questions in Comey's badly reviewed book aren't answered, like how come he gave up classified information? Jail. Why did he lie to Congress? Jail. Why did the DNC refuse to give its server to the FBI? He goes on and on. There are more and more of these tweets. This is the president this morning attacking the Comey book. Understandably, the portrait of the president painted by Comey is devastating. He says he's unethical, says he runs the White House like a mob boss, says he doesn't care about institutions, he cares only about himself. An interesting point, though, is you don't see Democrats rushing out of the woodwork to defend James Comey, in part because of this answer. Here's James Comey talking to George Stephanopoulos of ABC News, where he says, when I reopened the Clinton email investigation, because of what they found on Anthony Weiner's laptop late in the campaign, I probably was thinking I have to do this because she's probably going to win.
I don't remember consciously thinking about that, but it must have been, because I was operating in a world where Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump. And so I'm sure that it was a factor. Like I said, I don't remember spelling it out, but it had to have been that she's going to be elected president. And if I hide this from the American people, she'll be illegitimate the moment she's elected, the moment this comes out.
If you knew that letter would elect Donald Trump, you'd still send it?
I would.
Is saying he was looking at the polls to help guide his decision there. I mean, that's offering a gift to President Trump. But I just got to say, John, right now, that we're talking about this extraordinary presidency, and Julie couldn't be more on the mark, talking about how there is no strategy. Guess what? He's at 40% in a new poll today from ABC and the Washington Post. Those are dismal numbers that spell real trouble for the GOP this fall. But guess what? That is substantially better than where President Bush was towards the end of his term during the depths of the Iraq War. And what does this tell us? The base of the GOP is still very much with this president. That's why he's at 40. That's why he's not at 25. And that matters for this reason. Because for all of the talk about Michael Cohen and Rosenstein, the investigation, the Republican Congress is not going to take a hard line against this president as long as their voters are still overwhelmingly for him. And right now they are.
Right now, also, just the Comey stuff, I think, does not necessarily appeal to those voters that you were talking about. It appeals to people who are
chatter, yes.
Washington chatter and the Clinton supporters and everything else. And also, this is Comey's chance to kind of like have his romp, have his say. He's not necessarily saying anything that is addressing some of the more serious investigative issues, perhaps, but he's reclaiming his character. And frankly, he kind of, given all of the carnage at the top levels of the FBI in the last few months. Well, I mean, not really, but I mean, most people have, like, they're a lot of Comey's team has, suffered and been pushed out the door and is not going to have this opportunity. He's reclaiming the integrity for himself and for the institution.
And to your point about the slices of the debate, people look at, if you're the president, you look at your base. If you're the Republican leadership and you're being pressured to stand up to the president, you're reluctant to do so because you're looking at those Republican poll numbers. The question is, how does it play with independents in the middle of the electorate? How does it play in places where it have suburbs? And we've seen how that's played so far in the elections, where the devastation. And so Time updated a cover. This is, some might call this, cost-effective way to do your cover. Look at the cover of Time here. Back in February 2017, nothing to see here. They re-updated it for this time. They added a little stormy, they call it now. Essentially that this is a new details, new questions, new, call them what you want, scandals, controversies, but same chaos.
It definitely is, and the Comey thing, I mean, that's confirming everything that the Clintons thought at the time. I'm not sure he's going to do himself any favors here. Everyone who already has their mind made up about James Comey is not going to be persuaded, I don't think. But the more substantive matter is the other C person, Michael Cohen, much more important than James Comey. But it will be interesting to hear his full interview this evening, to read the book. of course, but I'm not sure he does himself many favors when he goes after the president, in small ways like making fun of his hand size and other things. I mean,
See Rubio, Marco. That person, it does not work.
The president always seems to win in this.
Yes.
That said, James Comey made the decision to go to war with this president through this book. Significant.
There's no doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. And you have to assume he thought that part through. Up next, it was already Donald Trump's Republican Party, but Paul Ryan's big decision makes it even more so.
Sometimes you need a second sample to confirm that the first sample is, accurate.
Of course.
It's accurate. For the road.
Behold the power of protein in Bird's Eye Protein Blends.
Okay.
They're delicious side dishes with the protein of beans, whole grains,
and veggies. Good. My work here is done.
Bird's Eye Protein Blends. So veggie good.
There's a new place for senior care. A place with 24-hour valet service and upholstery classes. A place where seniors get the care they need in the comfort of home. Home Instead Senior Care.
DirecTV Now gives you more for your thing. Your letting go thing. Your sorry, not sorry thing. You're out with the old, in with the new, onto bigger and better thing. Get the live TV you love. No bulky hardware, no satellite, no annual contract. Try DirecTV Now for $10 a month for 3 months. More for your thing. That's our thing. Visit DirecTVNow.com.
Now that's a home theater, Tom. You're my #1 guy.
Thanks, boss. Let's go.
Hello, the Hartford.
Hi, we've just destroyed something really expensive in my customer's home. Am I covered?
Yes, don't worry. You chose the right small business insurance.
When the unexpected strikes, the Hartford strikes back. It's why over 1 million small businesses and their agents trust the Hartford.
Thank you.
I thought I was managing my moderate to severe Crohn's disease. Then I realized something was missing. Me. My symptoms were keeping me from being there. So I talked to my doctor and learned Humira is for people who still have symptoms of Crohn's disease after trying other medications. And the majority of people on Humira saw significant symptom relief, and many achieved remission in as little as 4 weeks.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible.
You have a vision. It's behind everything you do. Even when you least expect it, it comes through. You know what you want, and we can help make it real. You need choices? We've got all kinds, including special finishes and papers. And they're all absolutely guaranteed. Because you have a vision, and we have your card. 500 start at just $9.99 when you enter BC500 at Vistaprint.com.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape. The super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair. Flex Tape's triple thick adhesive welds itself to the surface, stopping the toughest leaks. And new Flex Tape Clear creates a super strong watertight seal. Flex Tape Clear is virtually invisible, perfect for all types of repairs. Flex Tape is super strong, and once it's on, it holds on tight. And Flex Tape Gray can patch large cracks and holes. To show you the power of Flex Tape, I sawed this boat in half and repaired it with Flex Tape. Not only does Flex Tape hold the boat together, but the inside is completely dry. Get Flex Tape in clear, gray, black, or white, plus a handy can for $19.99. Call now.
Termites. We're on the move.
All good?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
We're good. Terminix, defenders of home.
Welcome back. 2 more House Republicans headed for the exits this past week. One of them got most of the attention. That would be the House Speaker, Paul Ryan. Dennis Ross also announcing he's not going to run for re-election on Friday. The attention was on Ryan. You see the red here. More Republicans than Democrats are retiring. Advantage Democrats in a midterm election year. Here are the numbers. 40 Republicans have said they are leaving the House, not running for re-election. 18 Democrats have said that. When you look at the map, they're everywhere. These districts are all over the country. Red means they're Republican seats. Blue means they're Democratic seats. This goes from coast to coast. Here's the dynamic when you look at it. Of the 58 members leaving, CNN ranks 20 of these races as competitive right now. 15 of those are held by Republicans, only 5 by Democrats. So the math tells you there again, advantage Democrats. More Republican seats are competitive in a year where Democrats think they have the wind at their back. Ryan heads out. He says too much is being made of his differences with President Trump.
Like I said, I'm grateful to the president for giving us this opportunity to do big things to get this country on the right track. So the fact that he gave us this ability to get all this stuff done makes me proud of the accomplishments that I've been a contributor to, makes me satisfied that I've made a big difference, and he's given us that chance. So I'm grateful to him for that, and that's really how I see it.
I mean, the obvious headline here is this is Donald Trump's Republican Party, and anybody who thought otherwise, there's your proof. If you were waiting for one last, hammer, nail in the coffin, that's it. This is Donald Trump's party. The other question is, will this be a signal? I was told by somebody who tracks this that he has a list of 8 more House Republicans who might head for the exits. The second person told me 3 definitely. They see Ryan going and they say, why stay? The bad year.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it was many more than 5, if for no other reason than there's only, I think, 18 states left now where the deadline has not passed to file for re-election. But look, I think that this is a sort of alarm bell going off, showing this is going to be a tough year. The fact that the Speaker himself is not even running for re-election. The reason for the shock that in Washington was that everybody expected him to leave after the election, not in the spring of the election year. And so it's kind of a Katie bar the door moment. But the problem with what Ryan is saying about working with Trump is, I think deep down, if you talk to some of his friends privately, he gets the lasting legacy here. And he knows that the lasting legacy is not just going to be the tax reform bill, that in 30 years or 50 years, this era in Washington is going to be remembered for President Donald Trump, not for the fact that the marginal rate moved a few points.
And the reality is that, well, Ryan was trying to put on a bit of a sunny spin on all of this. They haven't actually gotten much done. They did get tax reform done. That is significant. It's something Paul Ryan has done. But it's not as though you've had this long list of accomplishments that have happened under the first year and a half of the Trump presidency that Ryan and Republicans felt like they could run on.
And Ryan built his name on saying structural entitlement reform. Social Security and Medicare are key to the country's future. Key to the country's future, let alone the Republican Party's future. And he got nothing.
He wanted entitlement reform. And, for a guy who started out working for Jack Kemp and leaves as Speaker under Donald Trump, it's a fascinating arc of the Republican Party. And this is not something, he actually mastered his relationship with President Trump pretty well, better than most people. If he thought the Republicans could hold the House, he would have stayed.
And the president tweeted out this photo. They all came for dinner the other night. The president in the middle, everybody giving the thumbs up. You had Ryan and McCarthy, you had McConnell and Cornyn. The vice president was there. 6 white men. 6 white men. The Republican Party, Donald Trump in the center. That's going to be in Democratic ads this fall. You can bet your bottom dollar on it. Paul Ryan, in a series of interviews, sat down with Gayle King of CBS, who had a question.
When I look at that picture, Mr. Speaker, I have to say I don't see anybody that looks like me in terms of color or gender. But when I look at that picture, I have to say I don't feel very celebratory. I feel very excluded.
Well, I don't like the fact that you feel that way. And we need more minorities, more women in our party.
Gayle has a point, number one. And number two, forgive me, but that arc for the Republican Party is not getting better in the Trump presidency, at least in the short term.
No, and you hear everybody in the GOP saying we need more women and minorities, but they're not taming the president and various things he's saying that's making that more difficult. They're not setting policies that many people would argue would be advantageous to actually, incentivizing that shift rather than just saying, why don't you join us instead?
And yet, some odd, encouraging, I wouldn't say good news, but less bad news for Republicans. Quinnipiac generic ballot, tight one at 3. You mentioned earlier the president's approval rating back up around 40. That's not great news for Republicans, but it's less bad news. It's not as bad as the news has been. Yeah. And so you do have this debate as we head through April as to how bad is the climate.
It is not a given that Republicans lose control of Congress. Democrats have an amazing ability to really muck up a good situation in midterms and presidential elections, but certainly the trend lines seem to be heading in one direction.
All right, we'll keep an eye on all this as we go. Up next, our reporters share from their notebooks, including the embattled Missouri governor taking a page from the president's playbook as he, the governor, fights sexual misconduct charges.
VisionWorks can do more than just make you see great. The right pair of glasses can make you look amazing, too.
You know what else is amazing? Saving 60%. Come to VisionWorks right now and save 60% on a pair of glasses. VisionWorks, we're here to help you.
Mom, Dad, hi. I had a very minor fender bender tonight in an unreasonably narrow fast food drive-thru lane. But what a powerful life lesson. And don't worry, I have everything handled. I already spoke to our Allstate agent, and I know that we have accident forgiveness, which is so smart on your guys' part. Like the fact that they'll just forgive you.
4 weeks without the car.
Okay, yep, good night.
With accident forgiveness, your rates won't go up just because of an accident. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
People say watching paint dry is boring. But some of you know paint can bring a wall to life. Because you are particular. Particular helps you find the perfect color and nail the details. Look, particular people make the best art and science and things. So be proudly particular with paint like no other. Benjamin Moore, the standard for paint professionals, only at local paint and hardware stores.
Online dating? I know people meet that way, but where would I even begin?
Open laptop, go to OurTime.com, look for free. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the fastest growing dating site for people over 50.
This is Fracture. Just upload an image, place your order, and it'll show up at your door, beautifully printed directly on glass. And this isn't just another frame, not just another canvas. This is new. This is a Fracture. Visit FractureMe.com and print one today.
There's a new place for senior care, a place with flexible meal plans and 24-hour room service. A place where seniors get the care they need in the comfort of home. Home Instead Senior Care.
You haven't seen the sun in like forever, so you search for a beach vacation. Sunny beaches, sandy beaches, big beaches, small beaches, until you're lost, searching for surfing dogs. But then you find VRBO, and they search millions of homes to find you the perfect beach house, where you all find your own rooms and a grill bigger than your kitchen back home. And you find that watching the love of your life teach the kids how to dive warms your heart even more than the sun. From beach houses to cabins to condos, find homes that match you at VRBO.
In an era of change, one pope challenged the past and set a course for the future.
No pope has ever had the impact that JP2 had.
Pope, tonight at 10 on CNN.
Our kids. We want what's best for them. To do well in school, make lots of friends, and go on to do extraordinary things. At Goldfish, we don't just teach kids how to swim. We help them to do some serious growing and learning. It starts with a splash that leads to them making big waves in life. It's what we call the science of swim play. Your child's potential is in there. Sometimes you just need to add water. So come experience the difference at Goldfish Swim School.
It's a noisy, chaotic, confusing world. If only everyone could see it more clearly. Separate fake from fact. If only we all understood what's really going on. The world needs another Economist reader. And now you can try The Economist in print, free of charge. Visit free.economist.com, call 1-855-500-0015, or text ECONOMIST to 99000.
American Dynasties, The Kennedys, tonight at 9 on CNN.
Closed captioning brought to you by OnlyMeso.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
One last time around the Inside Politics table, ask our great reporters to share a little something from their notebooks, help get you out ahead of the political news just around the corner. Julie Pace?
Republicans are hoping that money can outweigh this surge of Democratic enthusiasm that we're seeing across the country in the midterm elections. The Republican National Committee says that they're going to plunge $250 million into their ground game strategy with the goal of having 900 paid staffers out across the battleground states to register people to vote, get them to show up. This really underscores a couple of things. One, the RNC remains a fundraising juggernaut despite a lot of the worries about the midterms. But two, it does underscore those worries. Republicans are incredibly nervous about this enthusiasm that we're seeing. They think it could translate into success for Democrats. And then secondarily, they are really concerned about the impact that this could have on the Trump presidency if Democrats take control of Congress.
Let's just see. Money can help momentum. Jonathan?
President Trump is not the only one who's lashing out against a witch hunt. Governor Eric Greitens in Missouri, who this week was accused in a pretty unseemly report of sexually coercing a woman and abusing her, has been consciously echoing the language of the president in his public remarks defending himself against these accusations. That's according to a source who has actually talked to him about his strategy. The attempt here basically is to test whether or not other politicians can do what President Trump does, which is basically deny everything, attack your accusers, and hope that the base of your party will basically side with you and sort of ignore the accusations. It's a really fascinating question as to whether the rules of political gravity that seemingly don't necessarily apply to the White House do still apply at other levels of American politics. The challenge for this governor, though, he's already been indicted and is facing a trial, which is something that President Trump is not himself facing.
An eye on that one. Big bellwether state. Jeff?
As we've been talking about, Speaker Ryan, of course, is on his way out, and he has thrown his support to his number two, Kevin McCarthy. The wild card in this potential speaker's race, of course, the voters will have the final say, but the wild card is President Trump. As of now, his aides tell me he's going to stay on the sidelines of this potential speaker's fight. He's not going to get engaged, but we do know that he is close to Kevin McCarthy, and Kevin McCarthy is eager to get the president's support. So watch in the coming weeks and months what Kevin McCarthy will do to get the president's loyalty and support here. Of course, he likes him, but he's very much an establishment pick. So the president's base, obviously, who the president's reaching out to very much, does not necessarily like Kevin McCarthy to get this. So watch what the president does and watch what Kevin McCarthy does to get his loyalty. He wants that endorsement bad.
Might take more than a few starbursts. Is that what you're trying to tell me there? Karen?
So I'm watching one aspect on the Hill that is kind of connected to the never-ending intrigue about Russia probes and Mueller and what's going to happen to the Justice Department. After 9 months, you've had a moment of a breakthrough on the Hill, which is that they're actually ready to start looking at this Mueller protection bill. Judiciary is committed to actually looking at it later this month. But the question is going to be, can these two sides, Democrats and Republicans, actually trust each other enough to get this done without screwing it up? Because the political fight is very, very alive. And you're going to actually have to be able to hold hands and be able to get through some of these amendments that are going to come up in order to be able to actually do something and have something out there before maybe this comes up again as a crisis question of whether the president will do something. It's taken 9 months of political infighting, or not infighting, fighting, basic fighting, really, for them to be able to, get to this point. And the question is, can they take her across the finish line right now? And will the leaders even pay attention if they do?
Keep an eye on that, a big political statement. If they can move forward, I'll close with something a little bit connected to what Jeff just talked about. Speaker Ryan is as adamant in private as he has been in public about keeping hold of the gavel through January. So an initial push by allies of Kevin McCarthy for a quick leadership vote, that initial push all but dead now. Their hope had been for an election immediately after the Memorial Day recess. The thinking behind that plan was twofold. McCarthy allies believed a quick election would deny other potential candidates time to organize. They also believed it would guarantee the California Republican at least 6 months as Speaker. But Ryan wants to, as he puts it, run through the tape. And McCarthy ignored suggestions from some advisors that he push the Speaker to reconsider. If Ryan stays on through January and Republicans lose the House in November, that contest will be for Minority Leader, not Speaker. And some McCarthy allies worry a big election loss would affect the mood and the math for that vote. That's it for Inside Politics. Again, thanks for sharing your Sunday morning. State of the Union with Jake Tapper is next. He'll sit down with Preet Bharara and get his reaction to the big Jim Comey book.
How would you describe the perfect dinner? It's perfectly fresh, perfectly measured, perfectly seasoned. That's why Plated is perfect for you. Unforgettable dinners you can cook at home week after week. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks. See how easy and fun it is to make a dinner that's beautifully cooked, shared, and enjoyed. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks.
Termites. We're on the move.
Hey, Rick, all good?
Oh, yeah, we're good. We're good.
Terminix, defenders of home.
Fly me to the moon and let me play.
A taste for chocolate milkshakes is not something you outgrow. So, having lived Atkins for years and also as someone who's an expert on shakes, trust me on this. These are awesome. Loads of protein, lower in net carbs, and no added sugar. Just awesome.
I never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you. No.
Powerful backing of American Express. Don't live life without it.
For the ultimate protection for your vehicle's floor, you need WeatherTech floor liners. Get complete coverage of your floor, including the front, middle, back, and even up the sides. And our cargo liners are also laser measured for a perfect fit. Nothing protects like WeatherTech. Order yours today at WeatherTech.com. WeatherTech. Complete protection, completely American-made.
Roundup for Lawns has arrived to put unwelcome lawn weeds to rest. So draw the line. Roundup for Lawns is formulated to kill lawn weeds to the root without harming a single blade of grass. Roundup, trusted for over 40 years.
Next, President Trump declares mission accomplished following the Syria strikes. What happens next with the Assad regime, and how will it impact the rising tensions with Russia? State of the Union with Jake Tapper, next on CNN.
How do you feel when you look in the mirror?
I felt heavy and I looked heavy. It's hard sometimes to believe that's me.
Do you wish you could have slimmer hips, thighs, and a flat stomach? Now you can. America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, Sonobello, has made it easier and more affordable than ever to get the body you've always wanted. Using advanced microlaser technology, our board-certified plastic surgeons remove hard-to-lose fat in as little as 1 day.
I look in mirrors now and I'm like, dang, that girl looks good.
For your free no-obligation consultation, call 888-470-4969 and get $250 towards looking your very best.
The best investment you could make is in yourself. 100%. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Call now and get $250 off. Payment plans are available. Don't wait one more day. For a free consultation, call 888-470-4969 now.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Mission accomplished? President Trump says strikes on Syria were, quote, perfectly executed, and he calls out the Syrian dictator.
They are crimes of a monster.
But does the commander-in-chief have any strategy going forward?
The United States is locked and loaded.
Independent Senator Angus King weighs in next. And Trump versus Comey. The president fires back at the guy he fired.
I fired Comey. Well, look at all of the things that he's done and the lies.
As the former FBI director spares no salacious details in his takedown of the president.
I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes.
Can President Trump hold back as Comey talks tonight? Plus, a legal battle at home. President Trump's personal attorney is the focus of a criminal probe as President Trump defends his so-called fixer.
Good man, it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt.
Might the president's personal attorney be indicted? Stormy Daniels' lawyer is here. Ahead.
Hello, I'm Jake Tapper in Washington, where the state of our union is at war, abroad and at home. President Trump this morning waging rhetorical battle against former FBI Director James Comey, tweeting, quote, "Unbelievably, James Comey states that polls where Crooked Hillary was leading were a factor in the handling, stupidly, of the Clinton email probe. In other words, he was making decisions based on the fact that he thought she was going to win and he wanted a job. Slimeball," unquote. This is an apparent reference to a passage in the Comey book where the former FBI director wrote, quote, "It is entirely possible that because I was making decisions in an environment where Hillary Clinton was sure to be the next president, my concern about her making an illegitimate president by concealing the restarted investigation bore greater weight than it would have if the election appeared closer or if Donald Trump were ahead in all polls. But I don't know," unquote. Just another distraction for the president, who is also fuming over an FBI raid of his personal attorney Michael Cohen's office, and in the same week authorized more military strikes in Syria. Coalition missiles lighting up the skies late Friday night. New video showing the destruction. Military leaders in the United States say precision strikes hit the heart of Bashar al-Assad's chemical weapons program. After the attacks, President Trump declared on Twitter, "Mission accomplished." It's a term many in President George W. Bush's White House, including Ari Fleischer and Nicole Wallace, cringed when they saw, recalling the banner that hung prematurely in 2003 on the USS Abraham Lincoln, more than a decade before that war ended. This morning, President Trump defended the use of "mission accomplished," tweeting, "The Syrian raid was so perfectly carried out with such precision that the only way the fake news media could demean was by my use of the term mission accomplished. I knew they would seize on this, but felt it is such a great military term, it should be brought back. Use often," unquote. Joining me now is Independent Senator Angus King of Maine. He's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee and the Senate Armed Service Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. The president says it's mission accomplished in Syria. Do you agree? Is it mission accomplished in Syria? And what is the mission?
Well, that was the second question, sort of answered the first question. I think it's very difficult to say mission accomplished. If the mission is to deter the use of chemical weapons, we hope that will be the case. But we did a strike a year ago for that same purpose, and it was deemed a success, but the chemical weapons have continued to be used. So I think it's impossible to say at this point that the mission has been accomplished. They had, it was a more significant strike than a year ago. They hit 3 sites instead of 1, more missiles. It was accomplished apparently with the precision that our military is capable of, but saying that it's been a success, we won't know until we see whether the regime continues to use chemical weapons.
These strikes were launched because American authorities and others say they have information proving that Assad launched a chemical weapon attack against his own people. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Did the Trump administration present any evidence to you to support this claim?
They did notify the leadership of the Congress on Friday before the strike, but I'm unaware that they presented definitive evidence of what the use of the chemical weapons was. We got updated briefings over the weekend from the Defense Department about the strike. And they indicated they had confidence that the chemical weapons had been used, but they didn't supply the evidence. Now, there are going to be some classified briefings this week. I'm sure we'll have more information, but certainly they believe that they had the evidence that these chemical weapons had been used. And I think it's important, Jake, to distinguish between a chemical weapons attack and a general incursion into Syria. The former, chemical weapons have been essentially illegal worldwide for over 100 years, since World War I. They've been used occasionally, but that really is a red line for most of the world. So going in to take out chemical weapons capacity, which is what this strike was all about, is arguably within our national interest and justified. what this strike was not, and I think was fortunate that that's the case, was a strike against the Assad regime itself, an attempt to sort of intervene in the civil war. So it was a narrow strike, but as you say, to go back to your initial question, whether the mission was accomplished, we won't know for months.
Now, you have said, in terms of the back and forth about whether or not Congress should vote before the United States launches military action, you've said you're okay with these limited strikes, as you just delineated, though in general you say you're not comfortable with Congress not playing its role when it comes to the use of force. Presidents for decades have used military force without congressional approval. You might remember in 2013, the Senate had to pull back a vote on Syrian strikes after President Obama asked for it, approval. Isn't it really the unspoken fact here that Congress doesn't really want to vote yes or no on war, that they want to cede this authority to the president so they don't have to go on the record?
It's not unspoken by me, Jake. I think that's absolutely correct. It isn't a case of presidents over the years taking this power unto themselves. Congress has abdicated the power. Congress hasn't declared war since 1942. There have been several of these authorizations, but I think you're absolutely right. And I understood late last week that the Foreign Relations Committee was finally going to take up an authorization in the case of Syria. We'll see whether that actually happens. But I think you're right that generally Congress is what they're really good at, I guess I have to say now we're really good at, is standing on the sidelines, avoiding making the decisions, and then criticizing the decisions the president makes.
Well, kudos to you for the acknowledgement of that. President Trump said this on Friday night. Take a listen.
In 2013, President Putin and his government promised the world that they would guarantee the elimination of Syria's chemical weapons. Assad's recent attack and today's response are the direct result of Russia's failure to keep that promise.
The president's exactly right on that. How do you account for the fact that the Obama administration seemingly trusted Russia to supervise the Syrians getting rid of their chemical weapons? Were they naive?
Well, I think perhaps somewhat naive, but also going back to that period, and I remember living through it, the Russians did, in fact, there was a great deal of physical on-the-ground activity of getting rid of chemical weapons. I mean, they were shipping them to a destruction site. I mean, it was being monitored. So it wasn't like it was pure promises. There was, in fact, activity involved in destroying and cutting back on the capacity. Now, whether Assad rebuilt that capacity on his own, it's hard to believe he would do anything without the Russians knowing about it. So I think, in essence, the president was right that the Russians essentially guaranteed that this wasn't going to happen again, and the evidence is at this point I haven't seen it definitively, but the evidence, the weight of the evidence now seems to be that they are using chemical weapons. By the way, Jake, they're killing their people daily. This morning they're bombing again without chemical weapons and still killing people, their own citizens. So yes, getting involved in terms of chemical weapons is an important national interest, but let's not kid ourselves that somehow if we stop chemical weapons from being used, the horror of what's going on over there is going to somehow stop as well.
Very briefly, I just want to ask you a quick question. The New York Times is reporting that allies of President Trump believe that the criminal investigation into the president's lawyer, Michael Cohen, out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, that is more threatening to the president than Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into possible Russian collusion. You know a lot more about the evidence or lack thereof of any possible Russian collusion than I do. What do you think? Does the Cohen probe bear more of a threat?
Well, I think it's really important to realize that what's going on in the District of New York is not under the Counsel Mueller. This is a separate investigation by a United States Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York. So it's a separate deal. Whatever happens to Mueller, and I hope nothing happens, it won't affect that prosecution. I think it's a serious matter. There's no question, because Mr. Cohen's name keeps coming up in connection with all of these things, whether it's the Stormy Daniels or the Russians. He seems to have some involvement in all of those things.
All right, Senator Angus King, independent of Maine. It's good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jake.
President Trump just can't seem to help himself this morning in a flurry of tweets, taking on James Comey just hours before the former FBI director's first television interview, and complaining about the raid on his lawyer's office. Former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara is here to talk about all of that next. Stay with us.
At Safelite Auto Glass, we know that when you're spending time with the grandkids, every minute counts. And you don't have time for a cracked windshield. That's why at Safelite, we'll show you exactly when we'll be there with a replacement you can trust. Well done, sir.
Looks great.
Thanks for choosing Safelite.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Saving you time so you can keep saving the world.
Safelite Repair, Safelite Replace.
Another month?
There are procedures. How they will come.
Oh, is that what I tell the investors?
Tell them we don't have to do this one country at a time. BDO says the approval process is similar throughout Latin America.
So parallel tracks.
If we have first-hand experience in each country.
And BDO can find these people.
BDO has these people.
People who know BDO.
Touch is how we communicate with those we love. But does psoriasis ever get in the way? Embrace the chance of 100% clear skin with Taltz. For people with moderate to severe psoriasis, up to 90% had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. With Taltz, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Don't use if you're allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, symptoms, or received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Ready for a chance at 100% clear skin? Ask your doctor about Taltz. Try it for as little as $5 a month.
Every day, Zulily brings you something special.
This is the exact stroller I was looking for.
Karen, are you telling people?
No, I'm not telling people. I just got excited.
I get it. You want to scream it from the treetops.
Nobody knows I'm pregnant.
It's a girl.
It's a girl. It's a girl.
Or a boy.
Or a boy. Or a boy.
Zulily, something special every day.
You could get whiplash from the number of media spikes. We're trying to cut through all of that and find the real story.
America is more than divided, it is split open.
We've seen a lot of craziness in the White House in the years past, but boy, nothing like this.
The Circus. New episodes, only on Showtime. Start your free trial.
Most people come to LA with big dreams. We came with big appetites.
With Expedia, you can book a flight, hotel, car, and activity all in one place. Everything you need to go. Expedia.
Hey, we didn't have a homeowner's claim last year, so Allstate's giving us money back on our bill.
Seems fair. Didn't use it.
Wish you got money back on gym memberships.
Get money back.
Hilarious.
With claim-free rewards. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Closed captioning brought to you by InventHelp. Call 1-800-900-0202.
Do you have an idea for an invention or new product? Do you think companies would be interested in your idea? Do you want to try to get a patent? Then call InventHelp now for free information.
Welcome back to the State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. Comey was fired, and now he's firing back big time. Former FBI Director James Comey telling all, even publicly humiliating the president with stories of his encounters with him. This morning, a preemptive strike from President Trump just hours before Comey's first television interview, again calling Comey a slime ball, and then in addition saying, quote, slippery James Comey, a man who always ends up badly and out of whack. He is not smart. Will go down as the worst FBI director in history by far, unquote. This is sure to escalate this week as Comey continues to sell his book, including a one-on-one interview with me on The Lead this Thursday. Joining me now to discuss all of this is a man the president also let go, former U.S. Attorney Preet Bharara. Preet, thanks so much for joining us. President Trump up and at him this morning, tweeting, taking a look at what he just tweeted as we came on air. Quote, attorney-client privilege is now a thing of the past. I have too many lawyers and they are probably wondering when their offices and even homes are going to be raided with everything, including their phones and computers, taken. All lawyers are deflated and concerned, unquote. What's your reaction? It obviously is an incredibly bold move for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, an office you used to hold, for them to raid Michael Cohen's office.
Yeah, so when he said all lawyers are deflated, I'm not deflated. I think that you have to trust that that office is doing things by the book and crossing every T and dotting every I. I don't think that Donald Trump has a decent understanding of what the attorney-client privilege is and how it can be pierced. The people who are doing the investigation in the Southern District of New York, I know very well. I know the person who's in charge of the investigation, Robert Khuzami, who's the deputy U.S. attorney, because the U.S. attorney himself recused himself. He's a professional. I worked alongside him for a number of years. He's a person who knows how to do a prosecution. He was a career prosecutor in the office for a number of years. The three assistant U.S. attorneys whose names appear on the brief opposing the TRO that Michael Cohen's lawyer sought are all people who are professional, who know what they're doing, who do things by the book, all three of whom I hired, in fact, over the last number of years. So I have great confidence in their ability to do things right, to do things that make sense. In addition, by the way, the decision to do the raids, the searches on Michael Cohen putative attorney's home, hotel, and office were approved also by an office, a career office in the Department of Justice called OEO, the Office of Enforcement Operations. So in addition to Rod Rosenstein, who is a Republican who oversees the Mueller investigation, there are career professionals in Washington and New York alongside a judge who had to approve all of it to see if those searches were okay. And by the way, if you read the brief that my former colleagues filed in the Southern District of New York in front of Judge Wood, who is also a very fine, well-respected jurist in the Southern District of New York, they're very meticulous in explaining all the reasons why they felt they had to engage in this process. Among other things, Michael Cohen, from everything you see in that brief, is barely a lawyer.
Right, he's a fixer, is the argument made by the government. Yeah. While the president's waging war on that front, he's also waging war on the Comey front. I want you to take a listen to what Comey had to say this week about the unconfirmed allegations from the Steele dossier.
Honestly, never thought these words would come out of my mouth, but I don't know whether the current president of the United States was with prostitutes peeing on each other in Moscow in 2013. It's possible, but I don't know.
It's possible, but I don't know. No, Comey's being criticized by people saying it's possible, but I don't know is the same thing as saying I have no evidence to confirm that it's true. Isn't Comey, these critics say, putting himself out there for criticism by phrasing
on both sides of the aisle? And there's on certain occasions people like him because they think he's engaging in a practice that's hurting a political opponent of theirs. And on the other side of the coin, people think the opposite, depending on what is going on at the time. My view of Jim Comey, separate and apart from what you think of his book, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, or what you think about the things he did with respect to the Hillary Clinton investigation, which reasonable people can absolutely have an objection to and not be happy about. But the one thing I believe to be true about Jim Comey is he's not a liar. He doesn't make stuff up. He has a good memory. He has a keen understanding of how the law works and what investigations are supposed to be about. Whether or not he's spoken about them in a way that went beyond what maybe a reasonable person should have done. So when he says that the president asked for his personal loyalty, another thing that the president has tweeted about this morning, I believe that. I credit that.
What do you make of President Trump having another tweet storm and attacking Jim Comey this morning? I suppose, I'm sure he has advisors around him saying all you're going to do is make this another bestseller and give the book more oxygen. Have shows like this one talk more about Jim Comey than we were originally planning on doing so because you're talking about it. Having interacted with President Trump, what do you think?
I interacted with him one time in person and a couple of times on the phone, and then I refused to take his phone call, which remains something that I'm very proud of, given how he talks about other interactions that politicians and law enforcement people have. I find it very hard to get into the president's head. I think a lot of people do a lot of speculation about what goes on. Clearly, the Jim Comey experience has gotten under his skin. He doesn't like someone getting airtime who is critical of him. And the way he deals with it is he lashes out on Twitter. My guess is that his lawyers don't want him to go about it that way, that there's lots of evidence, not necessarily in this tweet storm, but in other tweet storms, that will be bad for him if Bob Mueller ends up coming around to bringing some kind of case together, either in a report or otherwise, relating to obstruction. Every single time the president makes clear that he doesn't like an investigation of him or his associates and wants that investigation to stop, that adds to the narrative that when he takes an action that actually can cause the investigation to stop, that was intentional and is potential obstruction. I'm not saying it is obstruction, but it adds grist for people to find that to be true.
On Friday, President Trump pardoned Scooter Libby, the former chief of staff to Vice President Dick Cheney, who was convicted of perjury in 2007 during an investigation into who leaked the identity of a CIA officer. This investigation at the time was spearheaded by a special counsel who was appointed by none other than James Comey, and also is a very close friend of James Comey's. Do you think the president was taking a shot at Comey? Do you think he was sending a signal that he doesn't consider lying to the FBI a serious crime? He's willing to pardon people for it? Do you think he was trying to send a signal, hey, hang in there, Michael Flynn, Paul Manafort, I'm willing to exercise my pardon power? How do you interpret it?
Well, that's certainly the impression that's given. There's not much other explanation for, out of the blue, in that time frame, to decide to pardon Scooter Libby. He went outside of the process of the Justice Department. It's not clear to me, and maybe I missed it, it's not clear to me that Scooter Libby's lawyers were advocating in this particular time frame for their client to be pardoned. Even President Bush, for whom Scooter Libby worked indirectly, decided to only commute the sentence, not give a complete and total pardon. President Trump himself says that he barely knows the guy. So given how many thousands of people are out there, and my office used to process these requests on a regular basis, how many thousands of people are out there who may have been prosecuted in a way that was over-aggressive, where charges were piled on, who want to get on with their lives in a way that maybe the president can help by issuing a pardon. None of those people have gotten a pardon. But this person who the president doesn't know, who it allows him to make a political statement and also to send a message, as you suggest, to people who are currently in the hot seat with respect to the Mueller investigation, I find it very difficult to come to any other conclusion that he's sending a message. And it's true that the pardon power is something that the president can exercise in any way, shape, or form, pretty much he wants. But it's kind of abusive, I think, if you're using it to send a political message to people who may be in a position to testify against you.
All right, Preet Bharara, thank you so much. Thanks. Really appreciate your time. Do not miss it. I will sit down with the former FBI director, James Comey, for his first live interview. That will be on The Lead Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss it. CNN exclusive, the FBI has seized secret recordings of conversations made by President Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen. How big of a problem might this be for President Trump? Stormy Daniels' lawyer will be here next to weigh in. Stay with us.
Progressive is America's #1 motorcycle insurer.
Yeah, she does purr. Best bike I ever owned.
No, you're never alone because our claims reps are available 24/7. We even cover accessories and custom parts.
We did get an early start. Took the kids to soccer practice.
You want me to jump that cactus? All right.
That lady's awesome. I don't see a possum.
When you've got nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea. Here's Pepto-Bismol. Nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
People everywhere are getting clear skin results that'll blow you away. Get ready for a skin clearing breakthrough from America's #1 acne brand. It's called Proactiv MD. Check out how annoying blemishes disappear. Random blackheads dissolve away. Even red, painful pimples can vanish.
Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Proactiv MD definitely works.
The secret is a prescription-strength retinoid that you could only get from a doctor until now. Sold separately, the new Proactiv MD 3-piece system costs $45, but order before time runs out and pay only $19.95, more than half off.
Proactiv MD is the only thing that's worked for me. My skin has never looked this good.
Act fast and get our all-new charcoal cleansing brush, a $55 value, free.
Getting that brush for free? I mean, why wouldn't you do that?
Proactiv MD is guaranteed to work or your money back. Go online or call 1-800-299-4791.
When did it become okay for men to be lazier, softer, weaker? Get Ageless Male with ingredients that promote free testosterone, muscle size with workouts, and your libido. Get back to greatness with Ageless Male.
You wouldn't accept an incomplete job from anyone else. Why accept it from your allergy pills? Flonase relieves your worst symptoms, including nasal congestion, which most pills don't. Flonase helps block 6 key inflammatory substances. Most pills only block 1. Flonase.
How would you describe the perfect dinner? It's perfectly fresh, perfectly measured,
perfectly seasoned. That's why Plated is perfect for you. Unforgettable dinners you can cook at home week after week. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks. See how easy and fun it is to make a dinner that's beautifully cooked, shared, and enjoyed. Go to plated.com/order and get 25% off your first 4 weeks.
Your workspace matters. When it's active, it changes everything. And our new Veridesk ProDesk 60 electric standing desk makes it easy to turn any office into an active workspace.
The challenge was to create the most stable electric standing desk for hundreds less than the competition. We started with a heavy-duty frame, and we designed it to assemble in less than 5 minutes.
Because of Veridesk, we definitely have more energy in our office. I would never go back to a regular sitting desk.
To learn more about how Veridesk can change the way you work, go to veridesk.com.
How do you feel when you look in the mirror?
I felt heavy and I looked heavy. It's hard sometimes to believe that's me.
Do you wish you could have slimmer hips, thighs, and a flat stomach? Now you can. America's #1 cosmetic surgery specialist, Sonobello, has made it easier and more affordable than ever to get the body you've always wanted. Using advanced microlaser technology, our board-certified plastic surgeons remove hard-to-lose fat in as little as 1 day.
I look in mirrors now and I'm like, dang, that girl looks good.
For your free no-obligation consultation, call 888-470-4969 and get $250 towards looking your very best.
The best investment you could make is in yourself. 100%. I wish I would have done it sooner.
Call now and get $250 off. Payment plans are available. Don't wait one more day. For a free consultation, call 888-470-4969 now.
Pope, the most powerful man in history.
Welcome back to State of the Union. I'm Jake Tapper. From hush money payments to a porn star and to a former Playboy Playmate of the Year to questions swirling around the infamous Access Hollywood tape. Now CNN has learned that the FBI seized tapes of conversations between the president's personal bulldog and attorney Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels' former lawyer. And according to the New York Times, those close to the investigation see the investigation into his so-called fixer Cohen as a bigger threat than even the Russia probe. Joining me now is Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti. Let's start, Michael, if we could, with the bombshell news that the president's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, who you're currently suing, is now under criminal investigation by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. What do you think is going to happen with Cohen? Do you think he might even be indicted?
Jake, I do. I strongly believe that within the next 90 days, we're going to see an unsealing of an indictment against Mr. Cohen for a host of very serious offenses. And I believe, Jake, that is going to be a significant domino that's going to fall in connection with this.
Do you have any specific examples of things Mr. Cohen has done that you or the U.S. Attorney's Office believe to be criminal?
Well, I think there's a number of possibilities, Jake. I think he could be indicted for bank fraud, wire fraud, campaign finance violations. I think there's a whole host of potential criminal conduct that could be charged. According to his attorneys, the FBI seized thousands, if not millions, of pages of documents in connection with the raids going back some 30 years. This guy is radioactive right now, and this is not going to end well, Jake.
A source tells CNN that investigators have also seized recordings of conversations between Cohen and a lawyer who represented Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal before you began representing Ms. Daniels. I want you to take a listen to what Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, said about Cohen recording conversations.
Michael Cohen's an idiot. To be taping, if he did tape conversations with his client, that's stupid. But I don't know what kind of legal advice Michael Cohen gave Donald Trump. I'm not really impressed with him as a lawyer, just to be honest with you.
Lindsey Graham, not just an attorney, a former JAG with the military. Do you agree with his assessment of Mr. Cohen and the notion that it's idiotic for him to record conversations?
Well, Jake, it's exactly what I've been saying as well for the last 72 hours. As soon as this story broke, I have an enormous amount of respect for Lindsey Graham. He's a very, very intelligent man, very experienced attorney, and I couldn't agree with him more than to say that. I mean, it's outrageous. It's beyond stupid. And what's amazing is that this is the guy that the president put at his right hand. This is the man that the president basically trusted his secrets to. It is astounding.
Earlier today on the show, Senator Angus King, independent of Maine, who's on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said that Cohen seems to keep cropping up, whether it's with the Stormy Daniels hush money payment or with the Russia investigation. Do you know of anything that might link the two, or anything that Michael Cohen might have done involving Russia?
Well, I'm not at liberty to get into a lot of those details, Jake, but suffice it to say as follows. On Friday, while we were all in court, trying to deal with this TRO, and the judge was asking questions of his counsel, and the counsel unfortunately did not have answers to these simple questions. The judge wasn't happy about it. Michael Cohen was videotaped and photographed sitting with a number of men on the Upper East Side, I believe it was, and we believe that a number of those actually have ties, Russian ties, as crazy as that sounds. So this story just gets more strange and more strange by the day. You couldn't even make this up if you wanted to.
Can you shed any more light on what you just said? I mean, I saw a picture of one of the people he was sitting with, and he has ties to one particular Russian wealthy individual. What else are you talking about?
Well, again, I don't want to say too much this morning, but you can't make this stuff up. I mean, I don't understand what he's doing, what Michael Cohen's doing with each passing day. This is getting worse and worse for him, and it's going to get worse and worse for the president.
President Trump's lawyers and Cohen, as you noted, went to court on Friday to try to prevent any of the material seized by investigators from being read, claiming attorney-client privilege. The U.S. Attorney's Office responded by saying that Cohen has, quote, exceedingly few clients and a low volume of potentially privileged communications, unquote. You're a lawyer. Doesn't Michael Cohen have some sort of standing to make this claim of attorney-client privilege?
Well, he has standing to make the claim, but if it's shown that these communications were not in furtherance of providing true legal advice or true services as a lawyer, they're going to blow a hole through the privilege big enough to drive a Mack truck through, Jake. And the fact that he's been called to court at 2 o'clock on Monday is also a problem. You know, as I stated on Friday, right after the judge made that order, we could see Michael Cohen plead the Fifth Amendment in open court on Friday, depending on what questions are posed to him. I'm going to be there at 2 o'clock. I can announce that we got comfortable with a security plan last night for my client. She's going to attend at 2 o'clock on Monday. I think Monday afternoon could prove to be very interesting.
Stormy Daniels is going to be in court on Monday with Michael Cohen. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, she will attend at 2 o'clock in New York on Monday.
Is that intended in any way to provoke him, to get into his head?
No, not at all. It's intended to send the message that this is a very, very serious matter for her, and she wants to make sure that the American people know that she's behind efforts to bring to light as much information and documents as possible. She also wants to ensure that that she is heard and that she's represented at the hearing. It has nothing to do with getting in his head at all.
All right, Michael Avenatti, the attorney for Stephanie Clifford, a.k.a. Stormy Daniels. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Ahead of James Comey's first television interview, President Trump unleashing on Twitter against this former FBI director, calling Comey a liar, saying his memos are fake. All of that and the panel coming up. Stay with us.
Most people come to LA with big dreams. We came with big appetites.
With Expedia, you can book a flight, hotel, car, and activity all in one place. Everything you need to go. Expedia.
Now and choose up to 5 free offers, including friends and family sale free. Norwegian Cruise Line. Feel free.
How can Credit Karma help you score the perfect place?
I'll just need to check your credit.
With free credit scores in seconds.
It's yours.
Credit Karma. Get knowing.
How can Credit Karma save you money?
Ugh, I just got charged for credit monitoring again.
Ooh, you should try Credit Karma. It's free.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I should check it out.
With totally free credit monitoring.
Free.
Free.
Credit Karma. Get knowing. I try hard to keep a great shape, but it doesn't always come naturally. This I can do easily. Benefiber Healthy Shape is a 100% natural prebiotic fiber that's clinically proven to help me feel fuller longer. Benefiber Healthy Shape, this I can do.
Help control cravings and lose weight with Contrave. It's FDA approved to help adults who are overweight or struggle with obesity lose weight and keep it off. Contrave is believed to work on 2 areas of the brain, your hunger center.
I'm so hungry.
And your reward system.
Ice cream. French fries.
To help control cravings. One ingredient in Contrave may increase suicidal thoughts or actions in some children, teens, and young adults in the first few months. Serious side effects are mood changes like depression and mania, seizures, increased blood pressure or heart rate, liver damage, glaucoma, allergic reactions, and hypoglycemia. Not for patients with uncontrolled blood pressure, seizure history, anorexia, bulimia, drug or alcohol withdrawal, on bupropion, opioids, MAOIs, allergy to the ingredients, or pregnant. May cause nausea, constipation, headache, and vomiting. Reduce hunger, help control cravings with Contrave. Now you can talk to a doctor online and get free shipping at getcontravenow.com.
You know their names. You don't know their whole story. A rare and intimate reveal of America's most famous family.
American Dynasties, the Kennedys. Tonight at 9 on CNN.
Ever wonder why Europeans seem to speak so many languages? Maybe it's because we rely on old ways of learning, and they rely on Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app in Europe. Babbel's award-winning interactive technology gets you speaking right away, and best of all, remembering what you've learned.
When I started using Babbel, I really got into it.
You're able to retain all this information and remember what you learn without struggling to learn it.
Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons let you learn on the go. Now, you can try Babbel free. In just weeks, you'll have the conversational skills you want to use anywhere. In business meetings, on vacation, with the ones you love.
It's not hard to learn a language if you have the right program.
It improved my accent 1,000%.
The way that it's taught, it really sticks with you.
It's so user-friendly. I love it.
Try Babbel free today. Go to Babbel.com or download the app and see why Babbel is the #1 selling language learning app in Europe.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Is your name Michael Cohen?
Yes.
And you're a lawyer?
Ish.
Did you make a payment of $130,000 to Stormy Daniels?
Yes.
And did President Trump know about it?
No.
That was Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller reprising their roles from Meet the Parents, except this time they are Michael Cohen and Special Counsel Robert Mueller. My panel's here with me. Bill, we're in uncharted waters now. I mean, honestly, just taking a step back, the president's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, one of his closest advisors, his fixer, his friend, is under criminal investigation, had his office raided. I mean, it's stunning. Whether you support Michael Cohen or you have concerns about the FBI raid or not, it's stunning.
It is stunning, and of course the FBI in the Southern District of New York had to get a judge's approval, so they had at least some reason to believe there were important things to discover in that office. Now, I'm struck by the last few days. It's also kind of funny and bizarre that one forgets the sort of serious underlying facts. I guess, if I'm not mistaken, the Scooter Libby pardon was announced, or at least released. The news of it was out Thursday night. Friday morning, I think we know President Trump spoke with Michael Cohen on the phone. And Friday afternoon, Michael Cohen is yucking it up in that now famous photo, smoking cigars outside of his office building while kind of ignoring a federal judge who I think wanted to maybe speak with him. Why is Cohen so confident? I really think the pardon power is going to end up being a bigger part of this story than we're all focused, understandably, on firing Rosenstein, firing Mueller. I think the president's pardon power could end up being a big part of this story as we go forward.
Are you concerned at all about that? You heard Preet Bharara earlier saying that he thought that the only reason President Trump would pardon Scooter Libby because it didn't go through the normal process of the Department of Justice is to send a signal to people who might testify against him. I'm here for you, and I can pardon as presidents can.
I certainly hope not. That would not be something I would like to see out of my president. But it certainly lends this kind of discussion. And I mean, just the whole idea, the fact that we're discussing this, a couple of days after a major attack in Syria, and which is a very important national news story. But the president isn't talking about that this morning on Twitter. He's talking about something else. And then we have this going on with Michael Cohen. And it is the continual frustration of those of us who support President Trump and the things he wants to accomplish, including the actions in Syria, that the president chooses not to talk about any of his policy accomplishments. He chooses to talk about things that are personal to him. And that continues to be a frustration. We applaud, and you hear this all the time in Republican circles. We love what the president is doing from a policy point of view on a variety of different fronts. We wish he would talk about those things, and we wish he would focus on those things instead of focusing on things that are more personal to him.
The New York Times reporting that those close to Trump are more concerned about this investigation into Michael Cohen from out of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York than they are about the Mueller probe.
Yeah, I mean, really, what kind of lawyer is recording stuff? What is he doing with those recordings, if not to perhaps play them back to Trump when he's trying to put the squeeze on somebody so he can show him what a mob-like character he is, which is exactly what those images on Friday. And Trump plays right into it. This sort of very not subtle pardoning of Scooter Libby is just like right out of the mob. I mean, it's so, and then Cohen, it turns out, at least McClatchy has found, that he is in Prague. And so what does that mean in terms of him saying he had nothing to do with being in Prague to do negotiations with the Russians? So not only is it all this business dealings, and not only is it the hush money, but it also ends credence to the collusion investigation.
Just to put a point on this, CNN has not confirmed that report. And in fact, we were told in 2017 that the Michael Cohen that went to Prague that one day, which is not to say a different Michael Cohen on a different day, that was not the same Michael Cohen. But I take your point, McClatchy is reporting that. Let me ask you, President Trump tweeting about Cohen this morning, writing, quote, "Attorney-client privilege is now a thing of the past. I have many too many lawyers. They are probably wondering when their offices and even homes are going to be raided with everything, including their phones and computers taken. All lawyers are deflated and concerned." You're somebody who cares a lot about civil liberties. Does this raid on Michael Cohen's office, home, hotel, his safe deposit boxes, his electronic items, does this concern you at all?
A little, and maybe, I mean, if there's something really there, then that remains to be seen. But certainly throughout the history of this country, especially where it comes to African-American folks, I mean, you Black Panthers, Dr. King, Malcolm X, other civil rights freedom fighters, you can see that sometimes the government can go too far in its effort and be skewed one way. Now, that's not to say that the Cohen incident is parallel to that, but as American citizens, we should have some concern for how this goes, even if it's against somebody we don't like or like. It's not about like or dislike. It is about how we operate as a government.
In fact, when James Comey was FBI director, he used to keep on his desk a letter sent by the FBI surreptitiously telling Martin Luther King, Dr. King, to commit suicide. And he left it there to remind himself of the abuses.
They wired, you talking about taking down statues. I mean, to have a building named after Hoover, for God's sake, J. Edgar Hoover, we should think about that as a country, too.
But then on the flip side of that, of course, is that you've now got a president who is disparaging law enforcement at the highest levels. I mean, this whole attack against Comey and the attack against Rosenstein is an attack against Mueller, and he's trying to conflate it all. And, Comey in his book, I mean, granted, believe me, I certainly had issues with how he handled the Hillary Clinton thing. That was a difference of opinion. I'm not saying that he lied. I'm saying that it was totally inappropriate to release all that information while there's also an investigation going on into Trump, and none of that came out during the election.
But we can talk about both of those things.
No,
Governor.
we can talk about that. But what my point about this is just saying that Comey, even in his book, says a really important thing, which is that those who are standing idly by and allowing this president to attack someone like Bob Mueller are really accomplices. And he's really referring, I think, to the people like the Republicans in Congress who are allowing this to happen.
Let's, while you're talking about, Sarah, about the White House and the president attacking Comey, let's take a listen to what I think under any circumstances was an unusual attack from the White House podium against the former FBI director by Sarah Sanders this week.
The American people see right through the blatant lies of a self-admitted leaker. This is nothing more than a poorly executed PR stunt by Comey to desperately rehabilitate his tattered reputation and enrich his own bank account by peddling a book that belongs in the bargain bin of the fiction section. One of the president's greatest achievements will go down as firing Director James Comey.
What do you think?
I tend to agree with everything she said.
Appropriate to be?
I agree with everything she said. I'm not sure it should be said from the White House press room. But look, I think everything she said is substantively correct. I mean, this is a book of someone that has provided no light at all from everything all the excerpts that we've heard, no light into anything that actually happened. This is a man who's a narcissist who's gone out to try to attack this president. I mean, I saw your previous clip where he was talking about, well, I don't know whether he really did this thing with the folks in. I mean, this is just salacious and all designed to undermine this president, who he has obviously a bone to pick with. This is. Undermine. You want to talk about undermining the FBI? James Comey, tell-all, and frankly, tell-nothing book does more to undermine the FBI than anything.
Governor?
16% of America, there are 16% more Americans who believe Comey than the president. So we'll see how it comes out. You and I have not read the book because it's not out yet.
Right.
And believe me, I can hold two things in my mind at once, which is not to agree with Comey on how he handled the Hillary Clinton emails, but also to say this man has given his life in service, and nobody other than this president has been calling, and his followers have been calling him a liar and a slime ball.
The Hillary Clinton email was not the only problem that James Comey had. This is a serial problem, guy.
Do you take issue with what Sarah Sanders said, what Senator Santorum says?
I certainly take issue with saying it from the White House. I mean, that's if the RNC wants to put up a webpage, which they have, attacking James Comey in pretty astonishingly sort of personal and nasty terms. I suppose the RNC can do that. Every donor to the Republican National Committee needs to think about if that's how they want their money spent, instead of helping congressional and Senate candidates around the country. But look, I think it's not about Comey, honestly, at this point. It really is about Mueller. And I do think Republicans need to stand up and say, let the investigation go forward. Don't mess around with the Justice Department. For me, that's key.
Yeah. I mean, I thought
some have.
A few have.
A few have. I mean, I thought President Trump's voice was going to come out of Sanders' mouth at some point. I mean, that was a bit much to come from the press.
But wait a second. Can we just go back to this? When you say most Republicans have stood up, that is not true. Jeff Flake has stood up, and there are a couple of others. Where is Paul Ryan?
What's interesting, though, is in the polls, actually,
there's a whole bunch.
Just some have begun to in the last week or two.
But they're not putting
forth. And they may be marking up this bill, a bipartisan bill, this week. So let's see what happens. A majority of Republicans in polls want the Mueller investigation to be completed. So hopefully Republican members of Congress will listen to that.
Get a spine, I hope.
The president's favorite channel, Fox News Channel, a lot of their personalities there have been attacking Comey, attacking Mueller. Take a listen.
Last but not least, we have one other crime family we want to tell you about. And, well, this is near and dear to Comey's heart. We'll call it the Comey crime family. He loves this analogy. Let's stay with it.
I think he's really diminished the credibility of the FBI. He botched 2 investigations, the Hillary and the Trump investigation, and he's now really muddying the waters with the Mueller investigation.
Look, it has to be said that James Comey appointed Patrick Fitzgerald, who was the man who prosecuted Scudo Liberty. So you can say this was about the Michael Cohen situation. It also might be about the James Comey situation. It adds to the line of inappropriate activities of James Comey. What Patrick Fitzgerald did with the Libya investigation, I'm sure Bill would agree with, was outrageous.
Okay, but
and it shows,
come on, Rick.
it shows the abuse of a special prosecutor.
Family. I mean, but what you're suggesting...
I'm not defending Sean Hannity's crime family. I'm just saying that there is a connection between James Comey and Patrick Fitzgerald.
Well, Comey was the deputy attorney general in the Bush administration, and he appointed a special counsel to investigate
who did a horrible job and a scandalous job, in my opinion. And
Patrick Fitzgerald.
I mean, he prosecuted a man he knew wasn't guilty of the crime that he was being prosecuted for.
Last word, Jen.
I hope